Well, hello, hello. I just watched the Odyssey, the 2026 movie directed by Christopher Nolan, and I'm here to talk about it. You know, I wouldn't really consider myself a Nolan guy. I know he's the fucking goat and whatever, but I've admittedly only seen a couple. I really loved Oppenheimer, and I've seen The Dark Knight, and I think that's it. Yeah, I've just never considered myself a Nolan guy just because I haven't really seen much of his movies, but I managed to catch the Odyssey in IMAX, not 70 millimeter, but regular IMAX with my friends. And yeah, 3 hours later, I think I'm a Nolan guy now. This movie was fucking balls to the wall, huge, bombastic, epic in every sense of the word, man. How it looks, what happens in the story, what it's trying to say. I can talk about every single facet of this movie and talk about how epic it feels, because this is a blockbuster, dude. I generally don't like that word, but this movie is what blockbusters or big epic, cinema movies should be, because it is larger than life, and everything that's lived and fucking like whatever's bigger than life, and it's just I was so immersed the entire time, and it's an unforgettable theater experience already for me. Like it's feels like when I left Dune 2, and I don't think this is on the level of Dune 2, let's be real. I have my number one spot of favorite movie of the year comfortably ready for Dune Part 3. I do love Obsession though. Obsession might be my number one. Whatever. Yeah, I could talk about every single part of this movie, whether it's the cinematography, the performances, the locations, the CGI, everything. Like I can talk about why all of these play into the grandiose nature of the world of this movie. So let's start with the cinematography. The cinematography was absolutely beautiful. Like I expect no less from an every frame in IMAX movie. Definitely don't bank too much of your hype in the every frame in IMAX thing, because that tagline is definitely trying to imply that this will be the greatest theatrical experience you'll have visually, and I don't think it's life-changingly good. It's very, very good, but if you told me that this was shot normally and not entirely with IMAX cameras, I probably wouldn't know. But nevertheless, the shots were absolutely incredible. The opening sequence of shots with the Travis Scott, the bard, banging his cane on the table and reciting this poem, and there's these shots of the Trojan horse sort of washed up on the shore, and there's one of my favorite shots in the movie, and it happens within the first 10 seconds of Odysseus, played by Matt Damon, just sort of looking down, standing very stoically against the waves of the shore. Just such a powerful shot that sets a beautiful tone for the movie. And yes, Travis Scott is in the first 10 seconds of this movie. His name is literally in the very top of the credits, because he shows up first thing in the movie, and it is so fucking hilarious. I remember telling my friends, the moment I see Travis Scott on screen, I am going to kill myself laughing, and he showed up immediately, frame one, and I just couldn't contain myself. But yeah, going back to how it looks, the monsters were one thing that I think was portrayed really, really well. I've never seen a Cyclops portrayed like that before. Or spoilers, I guess. There's a Cyclops in this movie. There's gonna be mild spoilers from this point on when I talk about the certain monsters, but these are 4,000-year-old spoilers, so I don't really care. I've never seen a Cyclops portrayed with a vertical eye. Obviously he has one eye in the middle of its forehead, but it is a vertical human eye, and I just never, it looks like Heed from Grace. Those who know, I don't know, it just was a really cool and gross but also striking way to portray a Cyclops, and that entire sequence with the Cyclops was fucking terrifying, man. Chilling, tense, and boy was it loud. I know a lot of people complain about the sound design in this movie and the mixing, and how the movie is way too loud, and I think that's just a thing that people say about Nolan movies. I didn't really have a big problem with it. Maybe I'm just not as sensitive to hearing, but there were moments where it felt so loud that the entire IMAX theater was rumbling. Rumbling. Sorry. That only happened twice. I can only think of two distinct times where there was a massive screeching noise that made me jolt a little bit. There was actually one more monster that shows up later that I don't really see many people talking about, because it only matters in the movie for 20 seconds. It doesn't really have that much of a presence. But that monster showing up for the first time is low key, high key a jump scare. I jumped when, spoilers, I'll say what it is, when Scylla showed up, the tentacle monster. trailer, I was like, like what the fuck? I literally like had my hand on my heart and I had to like grab my friend on a knee. Pause. Yeah, grab him and be like, holy fuck. This movie was borderline horror, man. At least like body horror. Like when they were with Cersei, when Odysseus and his men visited Cersei and she like started transforming the men into pigs. Like the way that shit was portrayed with like these really close-ups of Cersei's hand, like sort of manipulating and stretching the like malleable skin of these man pigs, which is not CGI, mind you. And I just found this out recently. They did all of that shit in camera with animatronics. Like, oh, what the fuck are we talking about, man? Christopher Nolan is just like, he's just got motion like that to be able to make movies in creative mode. The fact that you pull that off, and by the way, he like finished this entire movie, like shot the whole thing in 90 days, which was 9 days before the date they thought they were gonna finish, and they managed to make the movie under budget. Like, we gotta be making these stats up, bro. Like, has anyone actually checked if Christopher Nolan is like human? Like, he might be from some like alien planet where cinematography is like the foundation of civilization, and they have mastered it to a degree that humans can't even conceive of, and like they eat film reels and like mate with cameras. Bro is doing inhumane things. I mean, I did read that like Nolan said that he wasn't gonna make a movie for like the next 3 years or whatever, because he like sucked out so much from his life to be able to write and make this movie. Like he wasn't seeing his family and shit. He was just like a shell of a man because of this. So I mean, maybe that's the key to everything, man. It's just devotion to the craft and hard work, which is not the answer people want to hear, but Nolan's living proof, or he's proof of alien life, movie Martians from another solar system. I'm just baffled at how like this guy's just genuinely built different at making movies. It's like kind of insane. He's like the LeBron James of he's like the Christopher Nolan of movies. But yeah, okay, tangent over. Yeah, the Cersei's transformation scene was just honestly really gross. Like I was like visibly like wincing when that was happening, and I loved every second of it, don't get me wrong. So yeah. I have a note here talking about the armor, and just so I put it out there, like I know there were major points of controversy surrounding this movie before it came out, and I was really enveloped in the controversy because it was really pissing me off that people were so mad about so many things, like the armor, which I believe is the most valid critique or complaint about the movie. But I was so pissed off with the people worrying about the fucking casting of Lupita Nyong'o and Elliot Page, who literally show up for a total of 10 minutes, and I'll get to the performances later, but they literally show up for like under 10 minutes. I don't know why people are so fucking mad. And they were just lying about Elliot Page being Achilles, whatever. But they're like, oh, why are they speaking like they're playing in like a bowling alley in Boston, Massachusetts in 1995? Like, I don't care, man. They're probably picturing it being like a British, like, oh, you've attacked my men, now you shall pay for your dues. And like, that's not even gonna be accurate because they're Greek anyways. And I do think that the Greek actor thing is another valid complaint, but then there are other people that are like, well, the Zendaya-fication and the Tom Holland-fication, like I want to see the same 3 actors in every movie. Like, she's a good actor, that's why she's in these movies, whatever. But yeah, going back to the armor, I thought the armor was fine. I don't really care. I'm not a big historian or mythophile, so I don't really care. Definitely wasn't like the greatest suits of armor I've ever seen, but they did the job. Agamemnon though, oh my god, dude, the aura. I hate being like, oh my god, guys, the aura. But like that one shot, you know the shot I'm thinking of, where Odysseus walks up to Agamemnon, he turns around, and then the camera like moves down as Odysseus gets on one knee. I was so fucking tense and terrified. There was also the other scene where the walls of Troy open up and all the men start rushing and like, you know, fucking screaming bloody murder, and Agamemnon is just walking expressionless in like a slow stoic straight line, and the aura, like chills, literal chills. I got chills all the way down to like my nutsack, dude. It was fucking wild. And I cannot believe I'm saying all of this about Benny fucking Safdie, bro. The B-boy, the Safter. This guy made Uncut Gems. This guy was Dougie from The Curse. This guy was Bowser fucking Jr. How did Nolan even conceive of getting him for this role? Like, what are you? I do think though, like it's probably the eyes. I feel like I said it's the eyes in every single one of these videos, but I do think it's the eyes. He's got very striking eyes, and I do think it was intentional that Nolan never actually showed what Agamemnon looked like without his helmet, because that's just Benny Safdie. Like the most he went was show the back of his head, because I feel like he would lose so much mystique and aura points if it was just Benny Safdie's face being like, bow before me. Speaking of Benny Safdie and actors, let's talk about the performances. The performances were really consistent across the board, which I think is kind of a good thing and a bad thing. I don't think any of the main cast really blew me away with their performance. If I had to give my flowers to two people, I'd say it would be Himesh Patel and Matt Damon. I think Himesh Patel, who plays Eurylochus, just a really likable side character. He sort of plays Odysseus's like second in command or right hand man, and he remains very loyal and brave member of Odysseus's little squad, and he's just really likable and endearing. I just really love Himesh Patel. I think he's just a very likable guy. I mean, he plays his character very seriously, and like you can tell, like this guy just wants exactly what Odysseus wants, to just get home. And I don't know, I just found his performance really like easy to attach to me. Before we talk about Matt Damon, a couple more side characters. John Leguizamo was in this movie, which I wasn't expecting. I really loved his performance. Like I did not expect him to do so amazingly, but he played Eumaeus, and he's just an incredibly wise and troubled and again endearing character. Like he's very pitiful. Like he kind of goes through a lot for nothing. He's so loyal to Penelope and Odysseus, and he has so much respect for these people that it's just really heartwarming to me. Like every time he showed up, I was like, he kind of stole the show every time he was on screen. So shout out to John Leguizamo. I was not expecting the movie star from The Menu or Sid from Ice Age to do that well. Speaking of loyalty to Penelope, Mia Goth. You know how I talked about like Prisoners feeling like watching that movie felt like Hidden Features on an album? This movie felt like listening to Hidden Features on an album, but I already knew the features beforehand. But then there were more people that I didn't know about being in this movie. That's how the actors casted. Like I knew about all the big names going into this movie, but I had no idea like Mia Goth was in this movie. And I mean, Mia Goth was just Mia Goth. She was just kind of playing the most Mia Goth ass character of all time. And I mean, it's not offensively bad by any means, but she was just kind of there. Even Charlize Theron, I still never know how to pronounce her name. Her performance was also a little flat. I just think her character as a whole was kind of flat. The Calypso, like she just sort of serves one purpose of taking care of Odysseus and then tempting him to fall in love with him. Other than that, she just kind of never appears. Like she's obviously a very integral part to the story of the Odyssey, but nothing to write home about, I guess. And Zendaya's performance was also like, it was good. You know, like it's just kind of right. Again, she plays an incredibly important part of the movie as Athena, who's like a literal god. She's sort of like omnipresent, Athena, the character, throughout the entire movie from beginning to end. And the last shot of Athena actually is one of my favorite moments of the entire movie. I just think that, well, I think Zendaya looked the part, and I think she played the part very well. Like she is kind of like Athena. Like I look at her and like, oh yeah, of course. Like if I was Christopher Nolan and I had a limited amount of money to spend, I'd be like, yeah, Zendaya's Athena for sure. Her performance was just nothing like too special. Like I feel like 10 other actors could have played Athena and met the same amount of quality as Zendaya, if not a little better. But other than that, like all the main actors were at the very least good. And yes, that even includes Travis Scott. No, like even like Tom Holland, I think this is probably his best performance. I think it's definitely his best performance. Now, granted, I don't think that's a very high bar to cross. And I don't think his performance here is like award worthy or anything, but he did the job and played, you know, Telemachus, Odysseus' son, very well. It was a very fitting role for Tom, and I'm glad that, I hope this is a step towards him being more daring and taking more risks in his acting, because he kind of just acts this one way. But I hope this leads to greener pastures for Tom. Anne Hathaway's Penelope was so commanding, and every time she was on screen, you can see the devotion she has to Odysseus in her eyes, and Anne just has really beautiful eyes. I keep talking about eyes, I'm sorry. Like you can see how much she loves and cares about Odysseus and just wants him to come home as soon as possible so badly, just through the expression she makes on her face. So Robert Pattinson, I mean, he's one of the greatest actors of our generation, in my opinion, and he is such a fucking slimeball. He's like in a rare role. He's so fucking slimy and punchable. Like I just want to like rub peanut butter and jelly on one slice of bread and smack him across the face with it. Like he is so fucking annoying. That one scene where he's interacting with Penelope, I like got an ick like 7 times. Like it was like, oh. Like he also has the most iconic line in the movie with the, somebody get these beggars out of here. I've been stating that literally all week. Anytime I need to remove something from a location, I'd be like, somebody get these beggars out of here. Now we can move on to Matt Damon. No, actually, Elliot Page. Let's talk about Elliot Page because y'all were so mad at him. Y'all were like, oh, how's he playing Achilles? He's the strongest man in the world being played by a trans man, which would have been fire. But he isn't even fucking playing Achilles. He's playing Sinon, and he is in a movie for 2 minutes. But oh my God, he stole the show for every second of those 2 minutes, bro. At the beginning of the movie with the Trojan horse and in the underworld with Hades, he was so commanding. He was so passionate. He was so emotional. I felt the guilt. Like, he was making me feel guilty, bro. When he was talking to Odysseus about what he had done and how he wanted him to avenge him, like, I was like, damn, like, I'm sorry. I don't know what I did, bro. He's just epic, man. He understood the assignment so goddamn well. I'm so happy he shut everybody up. And, like, he shut everybody up. And, like, I don't believe, like, how fucking corny people are, because all the hate was happening before the movie was coming out, and there was so much hate, and they were like, oh, the face stood empty 1,000 seats, and the movie trailer had, like, 500,000 dislikes. And then the movie's out, and no one is hating on it. Like, I don't see a single ounce of hate online. Like, what? Like, holy LARP, bro. This is the craziest LARP I've seen in the movie community in so fucking long. Jesus Christ, whatever. Now we can get into Matt Damon. This is definitely the best Matt Damon performance I've seen him, and I really loved him in Oppenheimer, and I really liked him in The Martian, but he kind of just always just does the job. He's just sort of always just Matt Damon, at least in the things that I've seen him in. Here, he is still kind of Matt Damon, but you can tell how much effort he's putting into this role, and he plays the character of this tired, exhausted, mentally, physically, psychologically, very trodden with guilt guy. And he's very devoted to Iliad, to his family, to his people, and he's just trying to fight all these battles that he's being faced with time and time again. Like, he fights like episodic battles. Like, you'll start realizing when you watch this movie, like, it kind of feels like a monster of the week thing. He's against a Cyclops, then he's against Sirens, then he's against this or that. But all the entire time, his internal battle is getting harder and harder to fight. And it's just this, like, for everything he's gone through, you start really feeling for the guy. And Matt Damon really delivers that in this performance. And I will say, though, one of my favorite scenes of the entire year shows up at the end of this movie, where Matt Damon delivers his monologue. I don't want to spoil it, even though I've gone into mild spoilers. I don't want to spoil anything about this monologue because you just have to see it after experiencing the 2.5 hours of movie before that, because you have to see everything he's gone through. And he lets out this beautiful, heartbreaking monologue, and just what he says and what he's spoken about a man who is just overcome with what he's done, like how his decisions, sparked a war and destroyed the lives of millions of people, and even seeing it destroy the state of his own nation. Like, it's a lot, man. And he perfectly verbalizes that in this monologue. Please watch this movie just for that monologue, because just from those words alone, I started tearing up. Like, I teared up like 3 times in this movie, and all of them were through Matt Damon talking. Like, he had some banger lines through the script in this movie, bro. The way it was written, like, aside from the monologue, which is generally like one of the best written monologues I've ever heard in my life. He had this one line where he was like pretending to be a beggar. A beggar! Okay, apologies for the hard B. But no, he was pretending to be a beggar at one part of the movie, and he said this line that was like, the best view from a man is from below. And I was like, whoa! But yeah, Odysseus, I just love Odysseus as the main character. He is sort of, like the archetype of the guilty man, I guess, the man who has been imprisoned and shackled by his own decisions. I realized it's a character archetype that I really love and I'm attached to very much, because I look at my favorite media like Better Call Saul, Steins Gate, Daredevil, The Social Network, Severance, Succession. All of these pieces of media and these stories revolve around the pursuit or the greed of success or gaining something and facing the repercussions of those actions. It's such a compelling character archetype, and to see like the patient zero, the framework for that portrayed in the most monumental way is just brilliant. And Matt Damon brings this sort of kindness and compassion with his performance of Odysseus. And I think this just goes to show how great Matt Damon is as a person, because I've seen a bunch of interviews and podcasts leading up to this movie. I even fucking stumbled to the nether realm, bro. I watched the Joe Rogan interview of Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, which is honestly, host aside, was a great watch. Like, Matt and Ben are so passionate about their work and their craft. And Matt just seems like an extremely experienced and loving, tender person when it comes to performing arts. And you can see him bring that sort of wizened, melancholy demeanor to Odysseus. And I think that's the reason why I can't imagine another person other than Matt Damon to play this character. He just opens the door to feeling empathetic and compassionate for this character of Odysseus in a way that I don't think any actor can. Like, he shows so much grace and kindness to everybody around him, and it just makes it literally perfect for the role and the way this movie presents this story. As for criticisms, I guess I have one thing I want to talk about. I realized that this movie was edited very similarly to Oppenheimer in a sense where it's very like snappy and quick. I think it works for something like Oppenheimer that's very like, you know, dialogue centric, but overwhelmingly dialogue centric, where like every single piece of dialogue and every single point brought up in a point of discussion was important to Oppenheimer's character and the severity of the situation of Oppenheimer's actions. And the editing sort of supported that and fed into this rapid fire, like no time to waste chaos of the aftermath of Oppenheimer's actions. But when it comes to something like the Odyssey, that's supposed to be very sluggish and despondent, I kind of feel like the editing was a little too like modern Gen Z-ish for the tone of this movie. So that's really like the biggest critique I can give it. Other than that, John Bernthal, this is not a critique of his performance, but he was supposed to say, "Let me tell you something" in this movie. That's one thing I was hearing, but I didn't catch it. Maybe I didn't catch it, but I didn't hear him say, "Let me tell you something." So I was quite disappointed by that. Yeah, I kind of just took a nap throughout John Bernthal's performance. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. And that's just for the birds. Yeah, other than that, for critiques, I guess the first act kind of dragged like a teeny weensy little bit, but it didn't really bother me. I do like when fantasies have slow starts because it just gets me really immersed in the world building. And yeah, like the world building is great in this movie. The locations, I remember reading interviews to like this is like the hardest movie literally like anyone who's worked in this movie has ever done. And I mean, it shows like crashing waves on these vast open waters, and whenever there was like water in this movie or like a wide ocean shot, it always looks so mesmerizing. Just the foggy hills of greenery and beautiful archaic stone architecture was just a feast for the eyes all around, and it felt otherworldly. The ambiance, the color grading was all perfect for the movie. The movie wasn't as dark as I was expecting it to be, which is a huge plus because I love bright movies and I want to see what's actually happening. There was a moment that kind of reminded me of Oppenheimer during the sirens when Odysseus decides to tie himself to the mast while every other one of his soldiers wore earwax, but he didn't want to put on earwax and he tied himself to the mast because he wanted to hear the song of the sirens. I feel like there's many ways to interpret that, whether he just wanted to punish himself or whether he wanted to see how much he can resist temptation, or he just wanted to hear the songs because it's like kind of a once in a lifetime experience. He was like getting edged, bro. He was like tied up, like hands behind his back on the mast. So he was like, oh! But also the sound mixing and sound designer was really cool. They like EQ'd out the lows and the highs and had this sort of muffled sound. It kind of reminded me of Oppenheimer when the nuclear bomb goes off for the first time and it's just pin drop silence. Such a great touch in them, and they do a similar thing in this movie and I loved it. Ooh, you know what's one of my favorite moments of this movie? At the third act this as a whole just made me like feel like I was levitating out of my seat. I had a boner and the boner was touching the ceiling because I was floating. But that last shot of Athena in the Siege of Troy, where it shows her getting like held up by two soldiers, and then the statue gets decapitated. Then we go back to Odysseus, who's in the middle of that monologue I was talking about, and Athena disappears. Like that made me tear up another time, man. Like the idea of like Odysseus envisioning Athena as this innocent girl who was killed in Troy. At least that's how I interpreted it, because she's the only god in the movie with like a persona. It was just so fucking visceral and emotionally cathartic. Like it's either that or like Athena's choosing to present herself in this sort of human woman-like form to help him on his journey. But I think the idea that he was putting this character of this innocent girl onto Athena is just so beautiful and tragic, and that realization after I came out of the theater and was thinking about the movie like made me kick my feet in the air. Like it was that is one of the coolest things of this entire movie, man. And yeah, holy shit, I've been talking for 30 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna cut it here, guys. Go watch this movie. I really, really like it. I'm giving it 4.5 stars. Definitely one of my favorite movies of the year. And yeah, Nolan's done it again, says the guy who's only seen 3 of his movies. So I'm gonna go watch a couple Nolan movies now. But yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to. Bye.